Anyway, we got involved in this garden on 9th Street. We had a little plot, and we put a little pet. We had this little garden and a peach tree, and
growing vegetables in Manhattan and eating, homes around the big Manhattan was great.
It was amazing. And these little kids used to come around and garden with us, and I was just thinking, well, maybe, I should do something more with these kids and stuff. So we started this after-school program, and then I hooked up with this other guy who was gardening in another place, and on another garden a couple of blocks away, and the kids and the teachers that we hired used to go and hang out at that garden, and they used to make masks and do theater, and then I hooked up with this guy, and then we built a theater in the garden on 8th Street and Avenue D. And then, so I was doing theater and gardening kids, and it was sort of coming back, and I kept saying, it's got to come together more somehow. And then, this is a long story, making a long story short, but, and then Ronaldo died of AIDS. And he was the first really close colleague that died of AIDS. And I hooked up with another choreographer, and we had our dance company there. And then when we did our premiere performance, while we were doing the performance, his boyfriend died of AIDS. It was such a, and then he died of AIDS. And then I started producing shows called the Downtown Christmas Spectacular for 5 years. And then the artists that I worked with on that Paul and I met, and we were skipping around.
Yeah, I thought that inspired you for that Christmas show.
Absolutely.
Like, gotta do a Christmas show.
Absolutely. Paul and I were Christmas in East Village. And then we did this, and then Huck did all the sets, and then he died of AIDS.
Which, we met because of Randy Rodriguez.
And we met him because Randy Rodriguez and Huck were together.
In a summer stock out in Pennsylvania. Somewhere.
Right, and they were
They were together
They
for
were
a while.
together, and then we went over and hung out with Huck, and then Huck was like one of the first people we met in New York together, right?
Yes.
And then,
and that was because of Randy.
And then I got involved with doing. I wanted to do this in a bigger way. So then I got recruited at the Parks Council, where I'm working now, to develop those kinds of gardens all over the city. Now we're working on a whole total land management of all the vacant city-owned land all across the city.
And to get kids involved with that. And
kids design and build their own gardens, and we're developing a curriculum framework for the whole Board of Education for environmental ed, and it's all the same: theater, education, people. It's all one big stage, the way I look at it. And I went through a real crisis when I first got this job. Like, I'm not an artist, I'm not doing shows, what's wrong with me? And then I realized, wait a minute, I have the greatest stage in the world, and we're doing all these incredible shows.
Are you satisfied?
I'm very satisfied. And I'm building a house, and I'm renovating an old convent. And I'm going to live in there. And I really attribute a lot of it to two things: to being at Maslow and finding a way to get somewhere else, and to one of my college professors who taught me a lot physically about who I am. Dorothy was lucky. Crazy Dorothy, but she was incredible. And so it's all sort of come full circle, and it's really interesting. It's really interesting.
Do you have any touch with Randy? Do you see Randy?
Randy? I never see Randy around. No. It was also the first place. That was the first place I felt comfortable knowing I was gay. They all came. I remember that
there's a word for that when you tell other people who's gay. You're
outing.
Oh my God! Get that all the same. No, believe me, they're all way out now. Believe me, they're far out. They don't need me to tell them.
I had somebody come up to me in college, and actually, she told, now this is strange, my boyfriend that I was gay in high school. I mean, like, I was gay in high school, and I'm not gay anymore but it was like because I went to Maslow, you were gay, and that you went to a gay school, and I said, gosh.
Is that how it was perceived?
Well, you taught there, you couldn't teach anyplace else, so it follows that there was something that...
If you're queer, you're not queer in any way possible.
I remember thinking, like, that's so weird,
Well, people thought that about me before I went to Maslow, so, that wouldn't have mattered if they thought that.
You got used to it by then.
I never got
Did
used
they
to it.
really? No.
A certain group of people, yes.
When I met you, it was like, this is the guy that does every girl in the book. I'm serious.
And he did. That was the truth.
It was something about Maslow. No, there wasn't anything about Maslow.
I don't remember that ever being an issue for us. I don't.
I
Well,
know.
this is actually.
Me neither.
No,
There was just a.
It was a
There's
state
an honesty about what you're saying, and all you're doing is bringing me back to the climate of acceptance and honesty that I remember, and that's the only thing that I can say. There were no judgment. Well, that was one of the things.
No, that's
no
right.
judgment.
Interruptions come. That's the thing we said all the time. Interruptions come first, and I would say that.
I use that to this day. Absolutely.
Interruptions come first.
Well, I was taught interruptions
That's what I
come
learned in
first.
school.
I was taught interruptions come first. Absolutely.
I think my marriage
Absolutely.
ended because of that.
And then I have a hard time.
No, because I believed in a certain way, and my husband didn't, and I believed in honesty and openness, and if my daughter had something to say, let her say it, and let her feel free, and my husband was very white.
A whole different school.
Completely different, and
Different
and
generation.
we ended up not talking to each other for a year, so we just ended the marriage. But
It's very
but
fair.
now, but my daughter is now caught, so because of the way I believe and the way her father believes, and it's constant.
And we need to send her a place like Maslow.
I would love.
She'll work it out. I have 2 children from that kind of marriage.
Good. This is good.
They'll work it out. Better that they have 2 separate, distinct examples, which is less confusing, because now they can make a choice. And they'll choose. And whatever they choose. Joe, hopefully you can come back on the 5th and see.
I'm going to come back on the 5th.
Okay.
I think that what we should do is we should try and do something for Brentwood. That's my altruistic moment. And we'll see in the reality thing. I just feel really, I feel like we should give back to
It's a wonderful
Brentwood in some way. And I think we should make a presentation to the Board of Education. I mean, I won't blow up and get angry and yell at Felicio, but I think we should make a presentation to
Can
them.
I tell you what I've heard while I'm doing this? First of all, I'm shocked that the district has supported this to begin with. But when I went to them first and I said, be very careful before you give your approval, because this was a very volatile issue 20 years ago, 15 years ago, and I have a feeling that some of that volatility may still exist in the community, so don't make enemies. If this is going to hurt, no, it does. The ghosts still walk, they still come. So when you talk about being out of the goodness of your heart, which is, I understand where that's coming from, it's the same effect of you having to your former husband, the 2 point of view becomes very
You know that a lot of people out there were just looking for something specific.
I agree with you.
It's either
I agree.
absolute-
All I'm suggesting is let's not
I
do
know,
anything blindly.
but there's hope out there.
Very good, Joe. Thanks to Naomi.
Thanks for calling me, Paul. I wouldn't have read
Thanks to
it.
Naomi. Thanks to Naomi.
Thank you. Thank you.
Great, good to see you.
Same here.
Jenny, why did you go to Maslow?
Why did I go
What did
to
you think
Maslow?
about it? What was your preconceived
Honestly, I have 16 years is a long time. I really don't have a very good memory. I went through the yearbook today, looking through names and faces this way if I saw anybody, because I see somebody in the mall and I'm like, that person, it's just terrible. But it was, my sister went, Robin, and my mother really enforced me to go. She was like, it's great, it's open, I'm more of an honest person. I always was very, back then it was patched jeans, no makeup. Everybody was just happy, and I chose to go, and it was just great. I got a lot from it, because if I didn't get along with the teacher, my mother would place me in a different class, and I would do wonderful. But if I didn't get along with the teacher, I did terrible, And I just had a great time. I honestly don't, all my friends were going, so I just decided to go, and I'm glad I did, because I had a great time. I still have my schedule. I was looking at it today going, it's so funny. It really is. I had a lot of fun.
Fun is important. Beside the fun, is there something, or in addition to the fun, is there something that stands out in your memory for the time that you put there, something that
Well, it just helped me being me, because I always have been a person, say what's on your mind. I don't hold back. Sometimes not so good. You talk first and then think, not so good. But just to be open and be yourself, where I couldn't express that in high school. High school is different now. The kids are, nervous when I think of my kids going, because, you know,
I can't imagine how doing that.
it just makes me a nervous wreck, but we didn't have that. We didn't have the worries that the kids do now, and it makes me...
Don't you always hear, like, you know, people, oh, you know, kids today, you know, our parents
Oh,
said
every
that,
generation
and I think things are worse today, but I don't know, it's like,
Well, I hear with the guns,
Oh, yeah,
and
that's-
stuff. We never had the violence. I mean,
Well,
what
there
we
was a
did
lot of
a
riots
small
going
pot, and
on
that
in the
was
late
it.
60s. I remember like people keeping their kids home because of the whole
racial-
black and white
With
thing
all
going on in
class,
Brentwood.
I
But
don't remember that at
and in
all.
our
Not
school,
Maslow.
also Maslow, people who didn't really want to know us and didn't want to understand what we were about. So what they would think about us was that we were all drug addicts, we weren't going
Yeah.
to succeed, we were just like wild, left to be wild.
Misunderstood.
And it really
you go
wasn't.
because
It
you
really,
want to get high, and it
yeah.
was so
And for
wrong.
some people it was that, and for some people Maslow was like, well,
Just
I don't really have to show up.
escape.
I don't really
Yeah.
have to like really put out anything. And sometimes I was, part of that also. It was, but just because of my own shyness or whatever. But I remember people thinking that bad things about us or negative things about us, that we were just
Hippie. Oh, you're
Yeah.
going to the...
I mean, at that time in my life, I was bouncing from foster home to foster home. It was the first year that I decided to stay in one of the foster homes I was in, just because I was very close to Maslow, and it just felt like I was waking up to the home, and the learning. And I was living on my own, because at a time I became an emancipated minor, and somehow it got, because of all the traveling, the screwed upness of my foster care stuff, my credits got lost. I remember that, and one of them was English. And I remember that's when you and I, we sat down and what could I do? So we created a class, and that was on the death and separation, and that gave me all the credits I needed to graduate. I mean, where could I put forth the effort. I remember sitting in do you remember that little room I rented, Ernie's house? Do you remember that?
Yes, I do.
Yeah.
That house doesn't
I was
exist
renting,
anymore.
I was 16 years old, renting a room, and I would just be up there typing away, because I was doing that, and it inspired me. I mean, it didn't, everybody thought, oh, she's got her room on, she's living on her own, and she's doing everything like that. I got up every morning, and I went to class, and it inspired me to just keep going, and just stay. Instead of, I mean, I was on welfare, but, I kept moving forward, and it was very inspirational.
What have you done since then?
Nothing.
Don't say that.
No, I have two beautiful children.
yeah, right there, you've done something.
Thank you. Tell us.
Right.
That I can't get along with their fathers, but
How old are the
I'm
children?
9 and 4, and they think I'm a complete alternative mother. I'm not like the rest of the group, but it's great. I'm learning so much from them, and I'm giving. I work hard. I'm single, but it's all for them.
You'll
right
get a
now.
huge chance to sell it. You're talking to the camera. You're
Yes,
saying-
the kids go every other weekend. But no, I feel there's always been this motion going inside of me. Like it might be down right now, but if I work hard enough, if I keep believing.
Are you living in Brentwood?
No, I'm living in Huntington. And yeah, I've been in the Air Force. I've lived in California, Florida, Texas.
I met one of your Air Force friends in California,
Yes,
remember?
you did. I know. And it's I've done a lot of soul searching, and right now it's with the kids